From Maurizio Sarri to Graham Potter, these are the world's 10 most expensive managers, how they perform for their teams, and why Xabi Alonso may just break the record for the most expensive coach ever. But before we give you all the gist, smash that subscribe button. At 10, Maurizio Sarri. In the summer of 2018, after parting ways with Antonio Conte, Chelsea travelled all the way to Serie A to pay £5 million for the cigarette-loving tactician Maurizio Sarri. Sarri had Chelsea playing Sarri ball for the whole season, a possession-based style of play that had the opposition on their toes. At this former club, Napoli, this style had them neck and neck at Juve for the Scudetto. I think that's why Chelsea felt he was the right man for the job. But a Europa triumph and a third place finish weren't enough to make up for the League Cup disgrace at the hands of Man City, in which he suffered humiliation from even his own player. So he parted ways with the London club just after a year. Do you know who else spent a year at the club for a fee of £5 million? The Dutchman Ronald Koeman. At 9, Ronald Koeman. Following a successful 2-year spell at Southampton, Everton felt the Dutchman was just what they needed. And for the amount, the Merseyside team got a bargain. They qualified for the Europa League in the summer of 2017. The club gave Koeman a budget of £150 million to sign players. The club had never given any of their managers that kind of money before. Surely Everton were going to be better than ever, right? Wrong. Instead, they find themselves battling relegation. I wonder what excuse Koeman was giving the board for the team's appalling performance. Everton couldn't keep their last season's form, and Koeman couldn't keep his job. Around the same time, Koeman was starting to kick it at Everton. Another manager had just parted ways with the other team in Merseyside, Brendan Rodgers. At 8, Brendan Rodgers, signed from Swansea for £5 million in 2012. The Liverpool boards must have been desperate to hire a manager who's never coached outside the Championship. But it was all smooth sailing until Liverpool suffered a shocking exit from the FA Cup in his first season. Bottled the league in 2014 and had a mediocre last season before the team ran out of patience. It's a good thing they did, because the manager that took over after him, well, you know how that went. But perhaps the manager who had the greatest impact on the team's legacy is no other than the Portuguese gaffer that the media hates. I'm talking about no one else but the special one himself, Jose Mourinho. At 7, Jose Mourinho. Following Chelsea's acquisition by Russian oligarch Roman Abramovich in 2003, he spent £5.2 million to bring the former Porto man to Stamford Bridge. That's a lot of money, because back then the best player in the world was valued at £50 million. Mourinho not only won 2 Premier Leagues during his time there, but an FA Cup and a Community Shield. However, his most significant achievement was transforming a rather mediocre Chelsea side into one of the best in the world. But Chelsea don't exercise as much patience as other clubs, and when Mourinho couldn't bring back the only trophy they boldly wanted, he had to say farewell, after which he would become the next most expensive coach yet again. At 6, Jose Mourinho. I'm starting to understand why they call him the special one. But where was Mourinho going this time round? Well, after leaving the capital of England, he moved to Milan and then to the capital of Spain. Florentino Perez was in the middle of his second stint at Madrid's president. We did a great video on Perez, by the way. You can check it out here and subscribe to our channel to keep us afloat. Anyway, Perez wanted to bring back the era of the Galacticos, and then meant a Galacticos tier manager. Because Mourinho was just fresh from the treble with Inter, his fee of £6.9 million was more than worth it. Anyway, I'm starting to think Portugal has a factory of football managers somewhere, because next on our list is also Portuguese. At 5, Ruben Amorim. It didn't take much for Sporting Lisbon to name Ruben Amorim as the new man in charge after paying the sum of £8.6 million. He's done an excellent job at Sporting, winning the league and 2 League Cups. And just like Klopp before he came to Liverpool, he's at a club where he used the talent at his disposal instead of blowing away the money. He's not a household name, but he's doing well for someone barely 5 years into his managerial career. But this next manager had been around for twice as long to command a fee of $8.8 million from his employers. At 4, Brendan Rodgers. In 2018, Leicester had the former Liverpool manager leave Celtic and head southbound to Leicester. You know how Rodgers rolls. He has a decent season or two, then he goes MIA. His time with the Foxes was no exception. After the victory over Chelsea in the FA Cup, things went downhill. He went from League Cup champion to the bottom of the league and subsequent relegation even after he left the club. Now I know there's no way Liverpool are going to give him a call again. This next manager was convinced he was following the blueprints of one of the greatest, but football masterclass isn't maths homework that you can just copy. At 3 is AVB. He's Portuguese, he's left Porto for Chelsea and ended up coaching another team in London before leaving England. And no, it's not Jose Mourinho, it's Andre Villas-Boas. The only reason we haven't heard much of him is because he didn't even last the season despite Chelsea spending $13.3 million on him. I mean, Chelsea wasn't paying that type of money to be trailing Arsenal in the Premier League. And in March 2012, Chelsea said BYE to AVB. This next manager also didn't last a year at the club despite his price. Graham Potter. Did I mention he was a manager at Chelsea? What a coincidence. Graham Potter had done an impressive job at Brighton and Hove Albion. Under him, they had memorable victories against the likes of Tottenham, Manchester United and City. Not only did Chelsea buy him out of his 4-year contract with Brighton for £21.5 million, but they offered him a 5-year contract worth £60 million. Some players don't even earn that much. That proves how much faith Chelsea had in this man, a faith that slowly turned to doubt. Graham may have an impressive resume and share a surname with the Britain's favourite wizard, but his time at Chelsea was anything but magical. Chelsea struggled as they were well out of place in Europe, and you know the Blues, they always run out of patience, not money. Before the end of the season, Potter was dismissed. You really can't help but feel for him. While Potter makes us pity him, the next manager swells with pride anytime he thinks of his accomplishments. He's so good he's been tagged as Mini Mourinho. At number 1, Julian Nagelsmann. At TSG Hoffenheimer, Julian Nagelsmann saved from the relegation and took them to the Champions League for the season after. When he went to Leipzig, he managed a runner-up finish in the Bundesliga and was DFB Pokal finalist, all while before turning 33 years old. Maybe the title Mini Mourinho wasn't so far-fetched after all. JN and JM, I'm starting to see the parallels. Not only is he the youngest manager on our list, but he's also the most expensive. You know how Bayern is draining the Bundesliga of talent? Well, they have the same policy with managers too. Bayern paid a record fee of £25 million for a manager when they bought Nagelsmann in Munich. They may sound crazy, but the Nagelsmann was at Bayern. He was younger than the team captain, Manuel Neuer. Despite his younger age, he still won the DFL Super Cup and the Bundesliga in his first year in charge. In his sophomore year, he was doing decently, but off-field drama led him to getting the boot. After his Bayern sack, the German national team gave him a call, and if he does well with the team, Liverpool might fancy give him a call as well. But there's also another young coach who is going to give him a run for his money and even beat him to it. The new number 1, from relegation fighters to the top of the league and unbeaten in 35 games and counting in just a year and a half. The world of football has been transfixed on Bayer Leverkusen. They are by no means European juggernauts, but what they're doing has never been seen before, and it's no other than Xabi Alonso at the helm of things. If there's a Mount Rushmore of the greatest football managers, the former Spanish international is carving his face there, and a return to a club where he started making a name for himself would be a fairy tale. As good as Leverkusen is, we all know managers always leave these types of clubs with the right amount of money. And having tasted stability and success with Klopp, I'm sure the Merseyside team would pay any amount for a suitable replacement. Leverkusen will demand nothing less than $24 million for Alonso, and that price will go up after every match they go unbeaten. If Liverpool signs him, they'd most likely extend the clause and give him a contract contract to keep him at Anfield, making him the most expensive manager. And given how boldly players' transfers have gone for him, they shouldn't leave room for other teams to flirt with Xavi. Liverpool are more likely than not to sign Alonso and make him the most expensive manager. But we've seen how bigger roles have tainted the careers of several managers. Could Alonso be an exception, or would he wish he'd stayed in Germany? We'll find out soon enough. For now, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this.